What would you do if you found a horse lying in the mud, so thin and weak it looked like life had already left her? This story isn't just about an animal in need. It's about two friends, their own heartbreak, and the powerful moment when saving a horse gave them hope to heal themselves too. The story begins with a man named Michael and his best friend, Matteo. They had grown up together, sharing childhood secrets, school troubles, and countless memories that shaped their bond. Michael had just opened an email he had been waiting on for weeks. It was from a real estate company he dreamed of working for. His heart had raced with hope, only to be crushed by the line that read, "We've decided not to move forward with your application." Those words hit him hard, leaving him with a hollow ache, as if all his efforts had been wasted. Matteo's hurt went even deeper. Earlier that day, his girlfriend of 6 years ended their relationship in the coldest way possible. She sent him photos of herself with another man, smiling as though their years together meant nothing. The betrayal stung, and the pictures replayed in his mind like a wound that refused to close. Michael knew he couldn't erase his friend's pain, but he also knew he didn't have to. Sometimes, walking side by side in the cool evening air, saying nothing at all was enough. In silence, they found a small kind of comfort. The two walked for about half an hour, speaking only here and there, letting the silence do most of the talking. Sometimes words weren't needed, and the rhythm of their footsteps said enough. Their walk eventually led them toward a muddy construction site. It wasn't somewhere they normally went, but wandering without a destination had quietly pulled them there. Michael was the first to stop, his eyes fixed on something ahead, something large, half sunken in the mud. At first, it looked like scattered debris, maybe a tarp or broken wood. But then Matteo looked closer, and his chest tightened. The shape was unmistakable. It was a horse. Matteo knew horses better than most. He had grown up around them, spending weekends at riding competitions and stable yards. That recognition came instantly, but so did the heartbreak. Horses had always been sacred to him, majestic, gentle animals whose eyes carried a kind of kindness the world rarely gave back. He had dreamed of owning one someday, brushing its mane and calling it his own. Seeing one lying motionless in the mud was like a blade to his chest. The closer they looked, the heavier their hearts grew. The horse's ribs pushed sharply against her thin skin. Her coat was rough and scattered with sores, and her fragile body told a story of long neglect. To Michael and Matteo, she seemed gone already, lifeless and broken. A painful silence hung between them. They began thinking of how to give her at least a shred of dignity, maybe moving her from the mud, maybe burying her somewhere softer than this cold, forgotten wasteland. But then something happened. Matteo leaned closer, scanning the horse's frail body with desperate eyes. For a moment, nothing seemed to move. Then, all at once, he gasped. "She's alive! She's breathing!" The words burst out of him, filled with both shock and hope. Michael hurried to his side, his heart pounding. He stared closely, holding his breath as if afraid of missing the sign. For a few long seconds, there was only stillness. Then it came, a shaky inhale, so faint it was almost invisible, yet strong enough to change everything. Both of their hearts leapt. The horse's eyes flickered open, and in that fragile moment, she met Matteo's gaze. Her eyes were weak and full of fear, but they spoke louder than words. Then they slowly closed again, and a single tear slid down her cheek. Some might have dismissed it as nothing, but to Matteo it felt real. It felt like she had cried, like she had used the last of her strength to plead for help before it was too late. In that instant, everything else, The rejection letter, the betrayal, the pain they carried disappeared. The only thing that mattered was saving her. Without waiting, they called the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Within half an hour, a rescue team arrived. The rescuers rushed forward, their faces heavy with sorrow as they looked her over. She was in far worse shape than anyone had imagined. Her body was little more than bones covered in torn, paper-thin skin. Her wounds were open and infected, her coat patchy and rough, and her eyes clouded with suffering. Yet even in this state, she was still alive. That tiny fact was enough to keep hope alive. Lifting her fragile body as gently as they could, every touch made her flinch in pain, her nerves raw and broken, but they did not stop. Michael and Matteo climbed into the van with her, unwilling to let her face this battle alone. Matteo stroked her head, whispering again and again, "You're going to be okay. I promise." At the animal care center, the vet quickly ran tests. The truth was heartbreaking. She was severely malnourished, her protein levels dangerously low, her body full of worms, and her skin covered with infections. One rescuer whispered, "It's a miracle she's still breathing." But miracles sometimes need helping hands. They gave her 7 liters of blood from 2 healthy horses and started a drip to stabilize her. Still, she lay motionless, her eyes dim and heavy. It almost felt as if she was ready to give up. But the rescuers weren't. They refused to let her story end in the mud. They named her Charlotte. Wrapped carefully in soft pads to protect her open sores, she was placed in a clean stall where her journey to recovery was about to begin. The rescuers knew the road ahead would be long and uncertain, but giving her a chance at life was worth every effort. They started slowly, introducing food little by little, because her body was too weak to handle much at once. Along with food, they tended to her wounds daily, gently cleaning her skin, wrapping her injuries, and watching for even the smallest signs of strength. At first, progress was painfully slow. Days went by, and she remained weak, lying down more often than not. Some of the staff quietly wondered if she would ever rise again. But then, one morning, something changed. When the caretakers entered the stall, they froze in disbelief. Charlotte was standing, her legs shook under her weight, her body swayed as if she might fall at any moment, but still she stood tall. Tears welled in the eyes of the people who had been caring for her. One of them whispered softly, "Good girl." "But you should rest," yet Charlotte refused. It was as though lying down again frightened her. Perhaps she believed that if she gave in to rest, she might never rise once more. For hours, she remained on her feet, her breathing heavy, her body trembling with exhaustion. The rescuers grew anxious, worried that she might collapse suddenly, and her fragile body might not survive it. The memory of being trapped in the mud still haunted her, and it seemed to fuel her determination to keep standing. Just when fear began to spread through the room, something unexpected happened. Michael and Matteo walked in. They hadn't been able to get her out of their minds since the night they found her, so they came to visit. As soon as Matteo gently called, "Hey girl," Charlotte's ears twitched. Slowly she lifted her head and turned toward him. For the first time since her rescue, there was a spark in her tired eyes. She recognized his voice. She felt safe. And then, in a moment that stunned everyone, Charlotte lowered herself to the ground, lying down calmly. This time it wasn't defeat. It was trust. She trusted that she could rest because the men who saved her were near. From that day forward, her recovery gained momentum. She began to eat with more strength, finishing her meals instead of leaving them half untouched. Her body started to fill out, her ribs slowly disappearing under new layers of muscle. Her wounds closed, her skin healed, and her dull coat began to shine once again. Each step grew steadier, each movement less painful. Soon, she was walking around her stall with confidence, and later stepping outside into the open air for short walks. She tired quickly, but she always tried again. Charlotte was no longer the helpless horse lying in the mud. She was a fighter. Weeks passed, then months, and the transformation was nothing short of miraculous. One sunny afternoon, Charlotte did something no one had dared to imagine at the start. She ran, truly ran. Her legs stretched out gracefully, her mane flowed behind her, and her body moved with the power of freedom. She looked nothing like the fragile creature Michael and Matteo had stumbled upon. She was radiant, spirited, and alive. The rescue team shared her story online, and the world embraced her. Thousands of people followed her journey, leaving heartfelt comments. "She's so beautiful. How could anyone neglect her?" wrote one. Another said, "I'm so glad those men found her when they did." Charlotte had become more than just a rescued horse. She became a symbol of resilience, proof that even in the darkest moments, hope could still be found. Michael and Matteo never drifted away from her life. They visited often, their bond with Charlotte growing stronger each time. Michael eventually found a new job, one better than the opportunity he had once lost. Matteo, slowly healing from his heartbreak, found the courage to love again. He often said that Charlotte's survival gave him strength for his own journey. "If she could make it through all that," he shared, "then so can I." Today, Charlotte runs free in open fields, surrounded by people who cherish her. The pain of her past no longer defines her. What remains is her strength, her spirit, and the love she inspires. And for Michael and Matteo, the memory of finding her in the mud will never fade. They know now that sometimes saving another life is exactly what saves your own.